I thought I was going back to a goth girl's room, but I walked into a midnight prayer circle. My wife and I have been together since we were 19 and married at 23, and we've always been solid. But early in our marriage, we admitted we both felt like we'd missed out on some life experiences. We were each other's first everything. So on our 4th anniversary, after a few glasses of wine, we made a strange deal. 1 hall pass each, no questions asked, just be safe and tell the truth within 24 hours. We set clear rules. It had to be someone we'd never see again. Protection was required, and honesty afterward was non-negotiable. 2 years ago, she used hers at a bachelorette trip in Miami with a resort worker she met by the pool. And when she came home, she told me everything while we ate takeout. It was awkward for about 5 minutes, then we laughed, and somehow it made us feel closer. My turn didn't come until last month when my company sent me to Portland for a 3-day tech conference, the first work trip I'd ever had. I stretched it to 5 days using vacation time because I'd never been to the Pacific Northwest. My wife couldn't come since she'd just started a new job, but when I left for the airport, she winked and reminded me I knew the rules. The conference itself was painfully boring, just hours of presentations about cloud systems and networking. On the second night, I escaped to the hotel bar around 9 and ordered a whiskey sour, planning to relax for a bit before heading upstairs. That's when she walked in, black hair with purple streaks, dark lipstick, leather jacket, the whole look, and she sat a few stools away. I noticed a band patch on her sleeve and made a dumb comment about it, expecting a polite nod, but she laughed and started talking. She was a tattoo artist from Seattle in town for a convention, and we ended up talking for hours about music, horror movies, and the cities we'd lived in. She showed me photos of her work, and I showed her pictures of my dog and my neighborhood back home. Time moved fast. She laughed at my jokes, leaned closer when we talked, and around midnight, the bartender called last call. I was about to say goodnight when she leaned in and quietly told me her room number, saying we could keep talking somewhere more private if I wanted. My heart started racing so hard I felt it in my ears. I stepped into the bathroom and texted my wife right away, keeping our agreement. I told her the opportunity had come up and asked if I had the green light. She replied in less than a minute, saying, yes, be safe, and tell her everything tomorrow. And just like that, it felt real. When I came back out, I told the woman I'd love to keep talking, and we walked to the elevator together. The ride up felt quiet and charged, just the hum of the cables and the numbers lighting up one by one. My hands were actually shaking, partly from nerves and partly from the weight of knowing this was something I'd never done before. We stepped into a dim hallway and walked to her door. She pulled out her keycard, and as she did, I noticed a small silver cross necklace resting against her collar. I figured it was just part of her style and didn't think much of it. She opened the door, and I froze. Inside were about a dozen people sitting in a circle on the floor, snacks on the beds, bottled water on the desk, and someone holding a guitar. The room went quiet for a second as everyone looked at me, and the woman turned with a warm smile and said she was glad I came because they were just about to start their midnight session. I stood there completely confused, and she explained that the convention wasn't actually for tattoos, but for a Christian outreach group that held late-night prayer meetings for people who were searching for meaning. One of the guys waved and told me to grab some chips because they'd saved me a spot, and they all looked at me like I belonged there. My brain couldn't even process what was happening. She honestly believed she was helping me, not inviting me up for anything else, and the sincerity on her face made it even harder to react. I mumbled something about being on the wrong floor, backed out into the hallway, and then walked away as fast as I could without breaking into a run. I got back to my room, sat on the edge of the bed in silence for a few minutes, and then called my wife. When I told her what had just happened, there was a pause, and then she burst out laughing so hard she could barely breathe. She kept laughing, gasping, trying to talk, and laughing again, and I just sat there staring at the wall, realizing my 1 hall pass had turned into the strangest night of my life. Now my wife is dying laughing at me, and I'm feeling so dumb. Was I wrong?